remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So there are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work on finding ways in which they can wreak havoc upon other nations. It's real. Still quoting Cohen. And that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts. Now, tectonic weapons, volcanic weapons, sound weapons, microwave weapons, Tesla weapons, HARP weapons. Remember 4 years ago, I was contacted by the director of HARP. Out of the blue, the director of HARP would like to come on your show. In fact, I want to contact them again up in Alaska and try to get them back on. Then the day of the interview comes. And John Harmon, who runs things up at Genesis, says, hey, there's some military guy on the phone before we can get this head scientist on, the civilian head of the base. And he goes, all right, I will be sitting in during the interview. If I don't like what I'm hearing, the interview may abruptly end, or I may cut the audio off. You don't have to talk to me. And I said, well, I wasn't told about this. I mean, you guys contacted us. Well, the director would like to come on your show. The director likes your show. And I said, okay, whatever. So we go on air, and only once, and luckily it was going to break, he cut the guy off. And once we went to break, he said, I don't like where this is going. What did the director of, it was a colonel. What did the director of HARP say that made the colonel in the Air Force cut him off? He said, oh, sometimes we ignite the atmosphere on fire at night with HARP. I mean, this is the type of technology they've got. And just like they've denied all the weather modification, now they're starting to admit a lot of that. I know that Ben Livingston, it was declassified, what, 7 years ago, that Ben Livingston was the father of weather weapons and that he'd flown into typhoons over 200-mile-an-hour winds after World War II, himself the first person to fly into them. Hurricanes, he'd flooded the North Vietnamese out. He could make a huge thunderstorm and a flood out of a clear sky in hours with just a few aircraft. And he certified for the Naval Weapons Laboratory and Stanford Research that they could create, control, destroy, weaken, whatever they want, hurricanes. And he came on my show because it had just been declassified so he could talk about it all. I saw him in a Midland newspaper talking about, why don't we just knock out these hurricanes? We had it certified in '67 that we could do it. Why, with just 8 aircraft, I could have knocked out that Katrina. It was right after Katrina. And they just declassified a bunch of it so he could talk. I called him up, got him on the show, flew him to Austin. But, boy, after those interviews aired, he got some phone calls and said, sorry, I've gotten calls from people. I'm not coming back on your show. National security. He'd say no to my producer politely, and I'd call him up at home. Come on, Mr. Livingston, please come back on. No, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. And it was right after that time that Kay Bailey Hutchinson came out and said, oh, we're going to have a weather modification board, a Senate committee to do all of this. So, I mean, the point is there's a lot of stuff going on the public isn't being told, and we know that the government has done everything you can imagine to the American people over and over and over and over again. And so why do we trust them? The whole government should be abolished. The whole thing should be removed. Everything should be declassified. Get all that pus out of there. Heal the wound. But instead, under national security, it festers and festers. Under Homeland Security, the system is now just gobbling up our entire economy. And Watson's article just goes on through many examples of this. And he's also added the full-length version from YouTube, from a director's channel, of Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. In fact, I'll show you on air right now the article. If you go to prisonplanet.com, you can go to the site, and the top story is on prisonplanet.com, is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? And now they brought me another report. I went over a similar one earlier. Dead fish cover 20 miles of Arkansas River. And, of course, this is up there where the birds are dying as well. State officials on Monday were investigating why 800 or 80,000 to 100,000 fish washed up dead on shores of the Arkansas River last week. But that could be unrelated because of a oxygen problem or toxicity or some type of virus. But it is suspicious because the bird situation is just very bizarre. But if you scroll down on the prisonplanet.com article, is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? You will see at the bottom of the video, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. And that film cost me over $100,000 to make. It covers only about, I don't know, 25 or 30 declassified nerve gassing of U.S. troops, radiating of U.S. children, Israel radiating 110,000 of their children, murdering many of them, the Nazi experiments. But it covers from the globalist own admissions why and how they're doing it. It's almost a 3-hour film. And I'm begging you to go get the free film at the bottom of this article and to get it out to everybody you know. You may know all about this stuff, but your friends, your family, your neighbors don't. And we can use a viral story that a lot of people are discussing right now. In fact, it's been the hottest search term the last 2 days running is the dead birds. We can use a variant of that to get millions of people. That's just one punch we're throwing. Doesn't mean it's going to defeat the globalist, but resistance is victory. If you're listening to this radio show, look in the mirror. You're the solution. You are the resistance. And I'd said that for a long time, and so had many other leaders in fights against tyranny before they kind of ruined it for us with T3 or T4. You know, this is John Connor, and if you're listening to my voice, you are the resistance. No. I kind of stole our thunder there, but if you are listening out there, you are the resistance, and resistance is victory. Is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? Well, I haven't done a search term in about 3 weeks, and people have been asking me to do them, and I can't think of a better one than dealing with eugenics. What should we say to link it back to this article? Is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? You guys got any ideas in there? I mean, what's a search term we can use? Because I gave Watson the headline. Watson wrote most of the article. I contributed to it. Yeah, but if I say that, that's conclusive, and that's not in our headline. That is a good headline. It just can't be too long. Is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? Let me think here. A lot of times if I think and just throw one out, that becomes the search term. I got to be careful. An army of great activists are out there just waiting by their keyboards. Is mass bird and fish die-off connected to government testing? I don't know. Maybe bird government testing. That's 3 words. How's that sound? Bird government testing. Let's make bird government testing 3 words. That's the search term. Bird government testing. And while we're at it, if you type Endgame, I guess until they try to delist it, into a search engine, not Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, just Endgame. It's not Samuel Beckett, the play. It's not the final chess moves, an Endgame. It's not even the U.S. government's Operation Endgame that got declassified after our film came out. That's a mass martial law plan. And that came out 2 years ago. You just type in Endgame. 2 words, Endgame, and the #1 search term on the web is already my film, the free video. So let's just make it Endgame. That way, #1, they'll see bird government testing. Because if I did something like bird die-off, that would just lead people to other stories that don't explain it. So we'll do bird government testing, and end game. And that way you'll have number 1 and number 2, and then hopefully other blogs and news outfits, well, not hopefully, they always do, will then write about our story, and then that will get around the electronic Berlin Wall or blockade when this becomes the number 1 search terms in the next few hours. They've already delisted us from Google News so that people won't see it on the news feature, but that won't matter. That won't stop the great activists out there. So let's search the term bird government testing. 3 words, put that in Google over and over again, and end game. And we could do the third search if you want, because they've got hot searches, but then also hot topics. We could have a number 1 hot topic. If it's so long, it'll be a hot topic. End game blueprint for global enslavement. If you want to do the whole thing, end game blueprint for global enslavement. And it's a well-produced, powerful, 2-hour, 45-minute film. And the top link, in fact, let's show folks. Let's go to the devilish CIA Google right now, live on screen. And if you just put in end game as 1 word or 2 words, we'll do it as 2 words, end game, the top link, and at least last time I checked a few months ago, the top link when you put in end game is, as you can see right there, Alex Jones end game. So the top 3 links, yep. And then there's a Hollywood movie called End Game, that's number 4. The number 5 is us again. So there you have it. We're already number 1 there, just naturally. So we're just augmenting and creating a synergy there. Search the term end game as 1 word or as 2 words. Technically, end game is usually 2 words. Yeah, let me search that and make sure. Yes, 2 words. End game is your second search, and then bird government testing is the other search. And then if you want to have the number 1 hot topic, we can just have end game blueprint for global enslavement. And then people will be led, when they're interested in looking into the birds, they'll be led to the number 1 suspect. I mean, if a group's done this tens of thousands of times we know of, including lethally killing citizens premeditatedly, capital murder, then why wouldn't they be the number 1 suspect? See, there's a mental block that's been engineered into people not to look at reality.
The Genesis Communications Radio Network proudly presents The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
Stefan Molyneux joined us about a month ago, but he was on the road and had a bad phone line. He's going to be joining us via video Skype if you're a PrisonPlanet.tv viewer, so it should be great audio to go over a host of issues with Stefan, who's a very popular essayist and author and well-known anarchist. A real anarchist, not a communist wearing a red star, running around burning things on the police payroll. That's the system trying to put their false image of an anarchist in there to distract and to divert you so they can bring in their draconian control. So we're going to be talking to Stefan coming up at the 8 after. I've got a lot of economic news I want to get to. Natural disaster news, killed 295,000. That's being reported.